This is Derek Rucksacken, and you are listening to the Southeast by Southwest podcast, a podcast exploring Asian food, New Mexico, and the relationship they share. As I was in the process of moving back to America from Thailand in 2009, I looked wistfully at all the street vendors near the train station where I was waiting for a ride to the airport. What I had come to take for granted in my life in Thailand, namely affordable, delicious, and freshly made food on every single corner, would soon be but a memory. What I didn't know at the time was that while I was gone, the beginnings of a massive street food renaissance were underway in the United States, led by the great Roy Choi and his Kogi taco truck in Los Angeles. Little did I know that delicious food, made with care and good ingredients, would soon be available in every American city, and the movement has only continued since then. Food trucks are often the unsung heroes of our community, providing quick eats on a working budget, made with love and fresh ingredients by chefs and small crews who really value what they're doing. But what we don't get to see when we grab a meal at these trucks is the daily struggle to keep up, just to keep the truck running, to find a place to sell, or to offer foods that the community will embrace. The life of a food truck owner is by necessity a life of dedication and grit, with not much room for, glory, or even celebration. The days are long, the elements can be harsh, and the slightest malfunction can cost you a day's work in just a few moments. My first guest is Jay Stulock, chef owner of Umamimoto, a Pan-Asian food truck operating out of Albuquerque. Jay's story is by many accounts unlikely. A Cleveland native of Polish descent, cooking a variety of Asian foods in the ABQ. Here he is telling his own story.
So I have three passions in life.
Right.
Hiking, photography, and food.
Okay.
And anybody who knows me knows that's that, and they've had my food and, they know I'm passionate about it. I used to work in construction. I had a construction business up in Cleveland until 2008. Apparently, the recession didn't hit as hard here as it did up there, but it pretty much forced me out of business. So I took what I had left, from my commitments and everything that happened, blowing that business up, and put it into the food truck with my partner at that time. And her name is Sandy, and she quit her job, and we decided she had a background in food, and I was passionate about food, and I said, you know what, if I'm going to do something else, might as well do something that I love, and the food truck seemed like the way to go.
Yeah, okay.
So we decided to go with the Asian theme because there's a little bit of an anecdote here.
Yeah.
A long time ago, when I was 16, there was a bar that would serve underages, and my friends and I were drinking out at this bar that night, and right down the street this new restaurant had opened up called Johnny Mango's World Cuisine, and we decided to eat there one night, and I had this noodle dish called Pad Thai. I'd never heard of it before. I'd never had Thai food before, right? Yeah. Blew my mind, okay? Now, I had a background in, your American staples. My mom makes a killer chicken casserole. My grandmother was Hungarian, so the Eastern European favorites, especially in Cleveland, very good. But, man, Thai food blew my mind. So over the next decade or so, I came up with my own recipe for Pad Thai. Just fits and starts, trying to see if I could capture that, whatever it was that really just set my mind on fire about these flavors. Mm-hmm. And I developed this Pad Thai recipe that people said I should sell.
Yeah.
They'd have it. I have people over for dinner, make up a mess of Pad Thai, and they just sit there and say, hey, you got to sell this.
Yeah.
So that was the impetus for Umamimoto.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
Changing careers, what are you going to do? Something I'm passionate about. People have been telling me, you should sell your pad thai.
Right.
I'm going to sell my pad thai.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I had always cooked a lot of Asian food at home.
Yeah.
Anyways, just tend to gravitate that way with my personal diet.
Right.
So, but when I was looking for something to do with myself, sell pad thai.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah.
One of as I did Umamimoto and became, popular and noteworthy on the food scene in Cleveland, one of those James Beard nominated chefs, Eric Williams, good friend of mine, great guy, fantastic guy.
Yeah.
He was the guy. He was the head chef at Johnny Mango's.
Oh.
When they opened.
Really?
When I had the pad thai, that was his pad thai. And he says, "Jay, you know what the secret is?" I was like, "What's that?" "Ketchup." I was like, "No!" Mind blown.
He was serious.
He was serious.
Yeah. Wow.
But,
Yeah. It's a thing. It definitely is.
I gotta admit it, I like Jay's story. And it could be because it is quite like mine. A Midwesterner with a passion for Asian food living in New Mexico. Yeah, sounds like me. But also, it's just a fascinating story, and even more so because Jay doesn't come from an Asian family. So I had to ask him, how does he come up with his flavors?
Luckily, I am a very good self-study.
Okay.
It's always how I've been. If I want to know something, I jump in with both feet and go all the way down the rabbit hole. And that's pretty much what I do with food. If I've got a taste for something and I just want to know more about it, I just jump into that rabbit hole, and that means good cookbooks. That means a lot of internet research, and it's more than just the recipe, though. It's the foodways, how that cuisine became culture's cuisine. Like, why did this happen? Why is northern Thailand food different than southern Thailand? Is there, what are the influences there? It's the Moors and the Indian and so forth. So those things are really what drove that kind of development of my cuisine and my flavor. It's not so much the recipes or the ingredients, but the culture and the whys that kind of got them there in the first place.
Yeah.
So you walk up to the Umamimoto food truck, and it's a diverse menu. What are you going to order? Ask the chef.
What's the best thing? What would you...
People come to the truck and ask that all the time.
We do.
They're perplexed by the menu. They look at it. They're just, they want a taco. They want, a torta or something like that.
Right.
It's not a taco truck. It's an Asian food truck that pairs with, these local kind of flavors and so forth. And, so they say, well, what's good? What's good? Oh, everything's good. And the truck this small, the menu this small, everything has to be good, right?
Yeah, right.
And so to answer that question, I know the chicken curry is one of my favorites. It's simple, but it's like one of those dishes where it's just a little bit comes together, and it's so much more than what you started with.
Yeah.
You got to try that street noodle with the brisket. That's another one. It's just like the fattiness of that meat with the curry. It just does something.
Yeah. Sounds amazing. Yeah.
So, I mean,
right. So the curry is...
At one point, we went into the truck so Jay could cook up a few dishes, and it was really interesting to see it happen firsthand. If you've never been inside a truck, it's like a narrow hallway with a kitchen built into it. Everything is just a few feet away from the chef when he's cooking, and the space heats up very quickly. It's also noisy because everything inside the truck is made of stainless steel. At a certain point, I see Jay get into his element. He's flipping things with a spatula and spinning around to grab ingredients from the cold station. The griddle is sizzling. He's applying his own sauces, and I start to imagine what it must be like on a busy night in the truck. To me, it seems barely big enough for 2 people, but apparently, it's possible to staff with 3. It's almost comical to see how the space seems designed to be as stressful as possible for the people working in there. But for food truck owners, it's something else entirely.
I guess it's hard to kind of convey in words
Yeah.
what the truck is in my life. It's the heart of major transitions. Both, I moved 1,600 miles across the country. My original partner and I are no longer together, and she's not a part of this business anymore, which is very sad. We're still very close friends, but it's just, we've moved two different directions in our lives.
Yeah.
And going through that transition in the business, instead of it being our venture, it's now my venture, and I'm doing it, with my my current partner, and that's a major change, and one that I never thought I'd be doing again. I mean, that's tough. It's really tough. Why would I do that to myself twice? But it's just the way that it overtakes you. Like, it's almost as if you're born to it. It's an innate thing.
Yeah.
This incredible passion for food,
Yes.
to the point that it drives your life.
Right.
Yes. I tried to get away from it. I moved out here. I did other things. I had other jobs, and here I am. I couldn't get my head off of it. I couldn't. It's in your blood, and when it's in your blood, it's in your blood. When I wasn't doing the truck, I was cooking too much food for my neighbors and people, and I just, you just, when you got it, you got it, and it's a pleasure and a curse.
Right, for sure. Yeah.
A good food truck is going to serve as a billboard for itself. Umamimoto's is no exception, with its iconic cat logo. Jay told me a little bit about how he modified that in coming to New Mexico.
The original Moto Cat was in front of the city of Cleveland skyline with like the rising sun behind it. And when I moved here, it's kind of like, this is my, hey, I'm here. It's a Moto Cat. He's got the flag, he's got the Ristra, the Sandias, this is,
Love it.
I'm here.
That's awesome. That's so great. I want to make sure we get a shot of that in the picture that we take at the end.
We did get a shot of that, and you can see it if you visit our Instagram page at Southeast by Southwest. If you happen to be in Albuquerque for an evening, go check out Jay and Umamimoto at one of his locations. You can track them down by visiting his Instagram, which is Umamimoto, UMAMIMOTO. So, I'd personally recommend that you try the brisket noodle and the pad thai. Both of those you'll notice he discussed in the interview in more detail. They're both really delicious, and the portions are very hearty. Plus, Jay's just a really nice guy, making the food that he loves for all of us. So, stop by and tell him that Derek from Southeast by Southwest sent you. So, our next guest is Namtai Tran. He is the chef owner of Nom Nom on Wheels, a food truck based out of Albuquerque, where he sells his Vietnamese-inspired multi-Asian cuisine. If you listen to our kimchi episode, he's the guy who makes the green chili kimchi I was talking about toward the end. You'll hear more about that shortly, but Chef Nam has a lot more where that came from. He tells the story of growing up with a Vietnamese mother, his early start in the kitchen, and how he got to where he is now.
Well, I've been in the kitchen since I was 5. And I think I remember one of my very first attempts of making anything, because my mom, when we came from Vietnam, she would always make me this just amazing, like sweet milk. And I tried to make it. And of course, my interpretation, and that's what food is, it's interpretation, right?
Of course.
The flavors, the combination. But I tried to make this sweet milk, and of course I made it with milk, and didn't realize until like years later that it was really what she was giving me was condensed milk and water. It was the most simplest thing. And I was trying to use milk, adding sugar. It didn't taste right. I was adding more sugar. I burnt it. But everything that I've learned, everything that I know is I learned, really it started from my mother. And then so the interpretation of, how she made food from Vietnam, and just those amazing flavors, lemongrass and pho was starting. I mean, just so many spices and so many flavors that it was just incredible. And nook mum, like fish sauce. And my mom would always tell me, it's like, damn, Gigi, what are you doing? You drink that like water. And I'm like, I know, it's so good. Because I would sit there and dip my spring rolls in them, and I just saturate everything. But I mean, and working in restaurants and then in the kitchen, just at a very young age, I think I became the head cook over at Hometown Buffet. I was like the youngest head cook ever, and some of the people didn't like it because they were older and whatnot. And of course, it didn't bother me. It was nice to just really be in that position. I didn't take it. I didn't have a big head about it, really.
Nice.
Working in so many different kitchens and then incorporating, just different, Asian flavors into really like American cuisine is really what it was. And transforming it, and then I opened up my restaurant. Is that when we met? Did we met when I had my restaurant?
Yeah, we met at Nom Nom Cafe, I believe it was called.
Yeah, Cafe Nom Nom.
Oh, Cafe Nom Nom.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, because you brought your son in too, didn't you? Yeah, it's kind of funny. So I opened the restaurant, but now having the food truck and then as well is I would come up with these ideas, and I just recently actually sat and thought about it because I'm one of those people, like, I do things and I move forward. I keep on going. I just keep on going, and I finally sat and thought about it, and I admitted to this guy that works with me on my food truck now, that I create these items, these menu items, these entrees, and I don't taste them. I know the flavors in my head. Wow. And it's like he's like blown away. He's like, "What? You don't taste your own food?" I'm like, I know what it tastes like.
Right.
And so, I mean, it's just transformed, and the food's gotten better. Like the green chili mac and cheese egg rolls, and a lot of the stuff too. It really was indicative to, or a few things I should say, it was indicative to New Mexico. How do I bring New Mexican culture, what are we known for, really? The green chili. So incorporate it into my green chili kimchi. That took me over a year to come up with a recipe. I mean, I came up with some things that were so hot, it actually sat in my freezer, or my refrigerator for like a year because I was too afraid to indulge in it because it was so hot.
Oh, wow.
And also too, with that kimchi, I think a lot of times it's either you love kimchi or you hate it. I mean, it's no between. And when I realized why people generally can't stand it, because it stinks, but it tastes so good. But it was the fish byproducts, like either shrimp paste or fish sauce. So I took that out. And so how do you balance that flavor? And so that was sort of my journey into kimchi, and now it's branded. But people who hate kimchi all have taste, and they love it, and they'll buy towards it. I know it's awesome,
right?
But it was really just, it's just so much in my head to like try to get out to explain, what it is. And actually, what I would say, the catalyst really being in the kitchen was the fact that growing up so poor, I love feeding people. I just love feeding people, but I want to make sure that I'm feeding them things that are amazing.
Yeah. So, well, that's a respectable mission. Yeah, well, one of the things you speak to, not tasting your food, I know that from my background, learning Thai food, so intuitive, right? It's so intuitive compared to, some other cuisines that are much more regimented. Right, and you really have to follow the recipe. In Southeast Asian cuisine especially, there's so much of just your internal wisdom informing the flavor, right? And I have to be honest, with your kimchi, and this may be why it attracts some non-kimchi fans, I can definitely taste the Southeast Asian influence in it. It reminds me almost of, what's the dipping sauce called for the spring rolls?
For
like the fish sauce and lime and sugar.
Oh, Nook Mum?
Oh, is it Nook Mum? Is that what it is? So I tasted just a hint of that profile in your kimchi when I had it. I really loved it, actually. And you'll hear on the podcast, if you haven't already, I sort of talk about how it's a really versatile thing. Your green chili kimchi, you can eat it on tortilla chips. It's that good.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, actually, it's kind of funny, like, and how I discovered how different ways of eating it. I think was it the firehouse or fire station? Is that what it's called? Monte Vista Fire Station.
Mm-hmm.
My restaurant was just down the street from there, and I would bring them food, and I brought them the green chili kimchi. Because again, I was trying to get restaurants to carry it and whatnot. Steel Benders carries it, which is amazing, and then I have it over at Silver Street Market. But I would bring it over there, and then I realized what they were doing is they put it in a bowl, and they had a bowl of chips next to it. And I was like, wow, I didn't even think about that. It's like, and so yeah, I put it. Really, that's kind of the pivotal aspect of my food is everything that we have. I put a little bit of that green chili kimchi on it.
Mm-hmm.
People love it. And, instead of like on the burgers, instead of pickles, that's what's on it. And it's not. And there's some spice to it when you eat it by itself. But once you have it on other things, it dissipates. But the flavors are there, and yeah, I love it.
So could you tell me a little bit and tell our listeners a little bit about some of your signature dishes that you've come up with that feature at Nom Nom?
I think one of the biggest things that our most popular item is that green chili mac and cheese egg rolls. And I know that living here in New Mexico, discovering, green chili and mac and cheese, one of the things that I had issues with was you can't really taste the green chili. Like if you get green chili mac and cheese somewhere, you have to add more salt to it and whatnot and try to add other flavors. But there's a process that I go through to make that, which I won't explain, but it really, allows the pasta to separate and it's not overcooked, and they're amazing. I mean, I've had so many people love that. The banh mi burger, and a banh mi, really kind of means, it's sandwich, or the bread aspect of it, that it's bread. Traditional banh mi was in the French baguette. Mm-hmm. You put a little bit of, Vietnamese, sort of a deli meat into it, or, chicken, and then sometimes you'll do a mayonnaise, and then, pickle carrots. And for me growing up, the sandwich was, fresh lettuce, fresh cucumber, fresh tomatoes, green onions, cilantro, mint, Thai basil. I mean, it was all the flavors, and a little bit of soy sauce, and a little bit of sriracha, and lime. And that's how I grew up. And so incorporating what I know as banh mi is it's all those flavors, and and made a little bit more, I guess, complex with the mayonnaise. I do an aioli, so I have different flavored aiolis, like sriracha aioli. I have a wasabi aioli that goes onto our tacos that we make. And we have, a Thai basil pesto aioli, and then I just came up with a Thai green curry aioli. So all the different aiolis, but yeah, I mean, it really rounds it off. But the banh mi burger, that's probably one of our top ones. Ground brisket, and again, green leaf lettuce, because I love how it skirts. It's a beautiful skirting of the sandwiches, and then red onions, cucumbers, tomato, Thai basil, the patty. We do a half-pound patty, and then the green chili kimchi, and then some fresh like bean sprouts, mung bean sprouts. Oh, so good, with an aioli on there, and then we toast the sesame seed bun. Wow. But really, anything on the menu. I mean, it's just the tacos. Like I was talking about the tacos. I mean, people are like, I've never thought of having rice in the tacos. So we do like cute slices of cucumbers, tomatoes, and I have the red onions in there, the green chili kimchi on top of the jasmine rice, and a little bit of the ponzu that I make, and then I'll do bulgogi beef, and then the bean sprouts with the aioli with the fresh lime wedge on the corn tortilla. So it's gluten free.
Yes, nice.
But yeah, I just like creating I don't know how my brain works, but it just works like that. Just I create it in my head,
Right.
and then I implement, and people love it.
Right.
So
right. You know, and you really do have a wild creative spirit, and it shows up on your menu. You know, with what you're doing.
Well, I really wanted to, and again too, like having on the food truck, I wanted more gourmet stuff in a sense, you know, instead of just slapping things together.
Mm-hmm. Of course, yeah, that makes sense. Really appreciate what you're doing and what you're bringing to the community. You know, I think it's really unique, and it shows in your following. I mean, it seems like. Can you talk a little bit about how the community's responded to your food?
Sure. I know that. You know, when I first opened the restaurant, I had a number of like Vietnamese people like just constantly coming and trying it out, you know, the spring rolls and whatnot, and were actually impressed. I mean, I would say the most important person that I've ever impressed was my mother.
Oh wow!
She came to the restaurant, and I remember she came up from she came down from Colorado, and my parents were there, and my mom had my banh mi burger, and so it was ground chicken, and it was kind of the consistency, you know, of Vietnamese egg rolls, but it was ground chicken with the cellophane noodles, and I had, you know, purple cabbage and carrot in there and whatnot. And I remember she was eating it, and I came up, I just kind of like leaned in, I'm like, "How is it, Mom?" and stuff, and she's like, And so she kept on eating. And so, you know, when they're like, it's good. I'm like, I'll take that. And I ran back to the kitchen. I'm like, I'll take it.
Yes. Yes. You really understand. I have to be honest, you know, that when I first saw your green chili mac and cheese egg roll, I wasn't sure what to think about that, you know, because it's such a stretch across cultures, you know. But then you gave me one when I came to see you, and I was like, that is, you know, the most indulgent, wonderful experience to eat one of those things. I never thought, you know, and it touches both sides of my personal history. You know, my Midwestern side just loves your first of all, your mac and cheese is really delicious, just the recipe itself. And then you put it in an egg roll and deep fry the thing, and then you served it with the sriracha aioli, and it was just on point. It was so good. So
thanks.
Definitely encourage our listeners, if you stop by Chef Nam, you know, check out that green chili mac and cheese egg roll. It is something to experience. You know, and this episode actually is about food trucks and the Asian food that's being cooked in food trucks. What would you say about your experience in food truck life?
You know, actually, I'll tell you this. The great thing about having a food truck is actually being able to take it to people. So before, when I had my restaurant, it was more of a destination for people because, you know, it was in Nob Hill, and so some people in Corrales, you know, they'd have to travel. But, you know, we go to Ex Novo on Wednesdays and Saturdays. People love it in Corrales. And then on Thursday, I worked last night. That's why I had to push back the time a little because I was a little tired. we got our asses kicked. But we were at Tractor Brewery on 4th, which is movie night. And so you can go there and watch a movie, have some amazing food. Sorry, I'm walking through my kitchen and getting some more coffee. Okay. And then on Sundays, we do Boxing Bear on Central. Mm-hmm. So, but having this, the one thing I'd have to say that is acceptable with having a food truck is when you run out of food, people don't get pissed off like at a restaurant and just it's accepting that you run out, so it makes them want to come back sooner.
Right.
You know, during that time. And running out of food now, I was running out of food actually a lot until we got the new cooler in there. But we'd run out of food almost every time we'd go out, and more people would show up sooner, which in exchange would bring more business to the places that we were at. And it guaranteed that our food was actually going to be more fresh because we ran out.
Well, that's, you know, it's really interesting. It's been really interesting to have seen your journey, you know, and how it progresses. Again, really want to give our listeners the chance to find you. I did my best on the last podcast, but would you mind letting people know how and where to find you?
Well, they can. Definitely follow us on Instagram, Nom Nom on Wheels. So NOM on Wheels, same as Facebook. And actually, my name's Nom, but it's NAM. But Nom Nom, I realized, what is Nom Nom? So I looked it up, and if you look up the Google definition of Nom Nom, it's actually defined as the prospect or the pleasure of eating food. Wow. It's an actual definition for it. I know, and and you know where that comes from?
No.
Sesame Street, Cookie Monster, nom 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 nom. That's where it started from. I know. Nice. I've done my research.
Yes.
And the thing is, we're out. How many days? 1, 2, 3. We're really out kind of 4 days a week right now. At one point, we were doing 7 days. Again, Wednesday, Saturday, Ex Novo in Corrales. Thursdays at Tractor Brewery on 4th Street, movie night. And then Sundays at Boxing Bear on 4th Street. So we those are our regular schedules for the week.
Nice.
So we don't really we'll deviate on off days if we're invited. And I've got actually a list of breweries that have been contacting me to see if I can go there. And I'm scared of working 7 days again because it is
right.
I know how to roll egg rolls, but
all right, Chef. Well, hey, it was awesome to catch up with you, hear a little bit of your story.
Thanks, Jeff.
I'll definitely let you know when the podcast comes out, and best of luck to you in all your endeavors.
When I lived in Southeast Asia, I learned that the line between eating in and eating out doesn't have to be so sharply drawn the way it is here in the U.S. In Thailand, a lot of the homes don't even have functioning kitchens in them because why would you bother if food is so abundant, cheap, and delicious out on the street? That is really exciting to me. Having good, interesting food brought to where the people are in the street. Just eating it on a little plastic table under the beautiful open sky, surrounded by the community. I think the food truck movement represents a call back to that most basic of shared eating experiences. Cooked in the open, by and for the people, no pomp and circumstance, just eating and being together in perfect harmony. So before we go, I wanted to say that the third truck I really wanted to have on this was the Bonsai Asian Taco Truck. It used to park on St. Francis in the center of Santa Fe. They serve this rotating menu of delicious, seasonal, and really interesting Asian tacos. I remember a beef kaibi taco with cashew nut cream and pickled onions that was out of this world. And then I was very sorry to see that after a little investigation, the truck is no longer operating, and I couldn't find any way to reach them to hear about their story. So, for better or worse, for all you've contributed to the Asian food scene in New Mexico, if you're out there, Bonsai Asian Tacos, the Southeast by Southwest podcast salutes you. So to all of you, wherever you are, I really encourage that you just get out there and visit the food trucks in your community. They're working really hard to bring good food to you, and they deserve your attention. So if that's all that I have accomplished with this podcast, is getting you to go out and explore your local food trucks, I call this a win. So I hope you've enjoyed our journey through food trucks and Asian food in New Mexico. I hope you'll join us next week for our next episode, where we explore another facet of Asian food, New Mexico, and the relationship they share. Thanks so much for listening, everyone, and have a great week.